I had this guy that I had sold the property to, and I call him up and he goes, I'm actually considering doing a home tap. I can't afford my mortgage. They will let me stay in the property as long as I need without an additional mortgage payment because I can't afford it. I said, well, what if we can sell the property today and then you can lease back the property for the year that you need? That way you can remain in the property, but at the same time, you don't have to do the home tap that's going to take a lot of your equity, basically. You got to think about it, needs and solutions. He said, how long does he want to stay in the property for?
Like 2 or 3 more years. Him and his wife are in their 70s.
Do you think that if you priced it attractive enough, somebody would consider letting him stay for 2 to 3 years? So that's what we did with this ranch. It's a 9-acre ranch. We priced it at $1.3 million. Because we priced it so right, 3 of the buyers were willing to allow him to lease back the property. Not only that, but take the property with any code violations, because it had code violations in place because it was priced so well. So, hey, look, here's a final option. And what I like about this option is that it allows you to monetize it today. What if we could sell the property for you? Or what if there was a way that you can remain in possession for a year? What if there's a way that somebody was willing to buy your property, allow you to stay for the next 2 years, and at the same time, you get rid of the home tap and basically cash out on your equity? Is that something that you would be open to? If we price the property attractively enough, it increases the probability of us being able to find somebody that's willing to lease back the property for you. Is that an option that you'd be willing to explore? Because what I really hear him saying is, hey, look, I'm willing to do whatever needs to happen for me to be able to stay in the property for the next 2 to 3 years. If it's worth 1.5, what if he markets it at 1.2 million? As long as somebody's willing to lease back the property to him for the next 2 to 3 years.
I feel like it's a good option to have in your kind of quiver, let's say, and it's circumstantial. So like in his scenario, he only wanted a year. This guy saying he wants 3 years, that dramatically lowers the probability. You would have to put it at a price that was so appealing that he would be willing to do that and not take any money for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So like it's also like you have to like weigh that as you're coming up with solutions. I don't think we really are clear of what's actually being spent here. It's time. We all have 27,550 days on the planet. I'm 45. That means I've used more than half. Whatever's left, you're going to sleep through a third of it. The time that you spend with people trying to look for options and solutions, you don't get it back. So you have to be doing this, like kind of have this app running in your mind. What's the probability that with all of these variables that I've just uncovered with these surgical questions that I just asked, that we can make something happen here? Like in his scenario, the probability is probably high because it's only a year. But if this guy's saying 3 years, the probability drops unless he's willing to lower the price dramatically. And the probability he'd be willing to do that is probably small.
And then he may be willing to compromise too. So instead of 3 years, he may be willing to do 2 years, basically.
Right.
He either sells it on his terms or like, you know, the bank takes it back. He doesn't have he's negative $300 in his bank account.
The problem is that if he lets it go into NOD, it basically, if he lets it foreclose, it gets rid of what he wants, which is to stay in the property. Pitching this in a way where it basically allows you to put the property on the marketplace and just see how the marketplace responds. And to be fully candid, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to deliver on the 1-year lease. It looks like the marketplace responded very favorably to the price and the product that we had out there. I was like, it's worth a shot. Because my risk was, hey, putting it on the market and the pictures and the time, basically. But I'm like, hey, this is a better solution than him basically letting it go into foreclosure if he's willing to price it attractively enough. And I knew that if the motivation was high enough, I was like, well, maybe somebody doesn't come in with a year. Maybe they come in with 6 months, basically. And maybe I'll tell them, hey, you can stay in the property for 6 months. So once you get offers, you could be like, hey, look, like, the most that somebody was willing to lease back to was for 1.5 years. At the same time, you're able to cash out on all your equity. You're able to stay in the property for 1.5 years, and you don't have to worry about any repairs on the property.
Yeah, and again, like also knowing like his stage in life, like where he is in life, you have to really like begin to dig and dig and dig, because people at that stage in life, they usually don't want to go anywhere ever. This is great because we can give you, you know, products, let's say, that you can offer them and different solutions. What's important for me, for you guys to get clear on, is it's also like you have to be conscious and be running this app in your mind around probabilities as you're having these conversations. Just to be like aware, like, okay, somebody in their 70s saying he wants to stay there only for 2 years, like, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go next? So asking that question, well, if you don't mind me asking, at the culmination of 2 or 3 years, where would you go? If you don't mind me asking, what's important about you waiting for 2 or 3 years? Let's say we did have an offer that was reasonable or acceptable and would allow you to net what you wanted. Would you move tomorrow? Like just continuing to dig, and then you can make that decision between the product that you're going to offer them, like the offer that you're putting together, and also their level of kind of motivation and the probability that they'll actually do it. Like it's partly a features thing where you could present it to him, but I think with a high degree of probability, you present that to him and he'd still hem and haw. It's an accepting thing. And it's an unwillingness to accept, like, hey, I made a mistake, or hey, I didn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not the way I thought it was going to end up or the way it was going to work out and that sort of thing. And that's something that, like, you know, if you want to sit him on a couch and have a conversation with him for like hours and hours and hours to try to help him to work through that, or you're like, hey, bro, like, I get it. Here's what I think is going to happen with a high degree of probability. And I mean this with love, like, and then give him the 2 options and what do you think we should do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think what you should do is that conversation that Aaron told you with the option that I gave you about the selling now with the 1 year lease back. Or 2 year lease back or whatever it is. And if he's not willing to do that, move on and then maybe put a follow up like in 6 months to see, hey, did it end up going into foreclosure or not? And then reconnecting to see if that's a valid option at that point.
Never underestimate the power of denial. And the saying is, and I want you to really hear my heart when I say this, okay? I don't mean this like, I mean it from a business perspective. Like, we're not entirely in the business of uplifting the downtrodden, where it's like, you can provide all the options and solutions, you could be the professional, but ultimately it's their decision. And I just want everybody to have like, to be fully equipped with, to know what to say, to know what questions to ask, to know how to dig, to know what options people have at their disposal in terms of the retail and the creative side, but then also simultaneously be running an app where you're thinking to yourself, hey, with all of these variables, what's the probability this will actually close? What's the probability they'll actually move forward with this and actually do it? Because that was like, I know that that's a superpower. And when you can deploy that, you can sift through lots of people. Because prospecting is going through lots of people to find a handful of people who fit the criteria and are interested in what you're doing and want to do it. So in environments where there's less transactions, all the tire kickers, all the like, you know, maybes, all the like, we'll sees, all the like, you know, 6 and 7 motivations, even 8s, they're hiding 9s and 10s. We want 9s and 10s.